Hello, Professor. My name is Sean Salamida, and this will be my attempt at the client-side web development midterm. So, for our first question here, with your template HTML file on the screen, explain each of the elements of the template, why is it there, and why you chose this way to define it. If we go down to figure 1 here, which shows us our list of requirements, I'm going to just zoom into 200 so I can properly read these. So first thing to go over, we have doc type HTML. This is to make sure that VSC, as well as anything else in your computer, reads this index.html file as HTML. We have our HTML tag, which contains all of the content of our HTML file. We have the attribute language equals in quotations en, which makes sure that everything in this HTML tag is considered English. If we were Spanish speaking and this was a class over in, say, Mexico, then maybe we change language to whatever the tag is for Spanish, and our website would be considered in Spanish. Okay, so our head, this contains all of our meta information on our web page. Going through this meta information, we have meta char set, or character set, which in our case is UTF-8, which is what we were taught to use, so I put it there. I believe that's because this is like the most common character set for web pages. We have our title tag, which in this case I titled my webpage My HTML Template. I did not follow the lorem ipsum. I did not follow the lorem ipsum theme for that title, uh, because I wanted to be able to tell what the tab was when I was testing it. So next we have our style sheet link, our meta author description keywords. So here's our style sheet link. Here's our this links with I believe a relative path, not the absolute path, as you described in a post to us. This will just path from inside this folder that index.html is to the CSS folder to the style.css. This way, I could just send the folder to you, and you will get all these files in it, and your version of my template will have the correct CSS styling. We also have this favicon link right here. I know this shows up later down in this criteria list, but we'll go over it now because it's here. So this will link into the images folder and grab favicon.ico, and this will set our little icon in the corner of our tab. In this case, I chose a little Space Invader I found off a website. I thought it was cute, so I used it. So now all of the meta info, we got viewport, which is for responsive CSS. That's just to set the device width and scale for a laptop, and not for something like a like our desktop version of this file is going to be the default one that it like scales to instead of something like on your phone. So I have the meta description for author here, which in this case has my name. This is just so anyone who gets this file can like look at the meta info and find out the author's name and also the description of the file, which in this case is an HTML template I created for the weeks 6 and 7 assignment. And the keywords here, which I set as template, assignment, and HTML. All of that is just for someone else looking at this file being able to understand what it is and some more information and context behind it. So now we're going to be going into the body, which is where most of the code here is. I ID'd it as CSS my template, and this body element here contains basically all of the information about the web page itself, not the meta information, but just the information on the page that the user will see in their client. So IDs, I tried to ID stuff as non-redundantly and as usefully as possible. Like the body section has CSS my template just in case I wanted to mess with everything in the body. Set a universal font or something like that. But I also ID'd um, my header in my banner section here. I ID'd my header 1 as website title, just so I can mess with that specifically if I wanted to. I ID'd nav header in my navigation pane, and the entire element itself in this little div tag got its own ID as navigation sidebar, because I wanted to set the font differently for that, or font color, or something like that. But nav header is specifically for the header. We don't ID the links here in the list. And then we have another ID coming up in our web page heading, which is a different section when I open the template and show you the CSS content. But that's basically for the heading of the web page itself, not to be confused with the big banner heading of, say, like this website, if it were to be a website. Then we have another ID for the footer. Next, we have classes. So I tried to also group things with classes responsibly here. So we have class intro for our banner. That one's a little redundant, and maybe I could have used that better, but we have some better cases of class usage in here. We have a navigation class on my navigation sidebar, and then we have class dummy link for all of the links that's in a list on our navigation sidebar. That's just so I can edit all of them at once if I wanted to. We have the class main heading right here for the heading of our web page, and then we have class main content for the meat of our page, and then we have a class for the subheadings of my paragraphs, and then a class for the paragraphs themselves if I want to use them, or if I want to reference them independently from each other. And then I have a class for the footer right here. So with our ARIA roles, we have where is it? We have role banner set right here. This is the only role that I set on my own. The rest are used with landmark role tags. But we have role banner here to tell, because I use header, I believe, once more later. No, I didn't. Yes, I do. I use it there. So header is just to tell the person using a screen reader what the web page banner is, which in this case is banner, so they can skip it if they want. Otherwise, I use, let's just go through this in order. So I use header once again here on the banner, but I also use it in this element right here, which is the main heading of the page, otherwise known as like the web page title. We use the nav tag for our list of links that I will show later, just to give some more context for this stuff. But this tag includes all of our links that will navigate you to other parts of the page, which in this case, as this comment says, they just send you to the top of the page because I didn't implement anything that sent you to different sections because the web page is much too small for that. We have our main tag right here, and this contains our main content, including our main heading and all of the aptly named main content inside of this section, which is just a couple of paragraphs with some headings over each of them. And we got the footer tag down here. That's just to take you to the footer, which is a tiny little sentence I put at the bottom to be like the copyright info for the page. And then we use section a couple times. So we used section here for main heading. This is just to separate it from the content in the main element here. Here we can see that we used section again to denote the actual content of the main tag. And then we use, I could have sworn, nope, those are the only time we use section. And then again, I mentioned the favicon. In format for readability, I tried to have good comments to tell anyone reading this what goes where, and also some stuff like the links not properly working and just sending you to default places. But I tried to keep everything formatted the same way, just so it wouldn't be confusing to anyone else looking at my work. I tried to make use of good spacing to make sure stuff didn't just blend together. And there isn't any more criteria on that list, so I think we're good there. So now if we were to look at the actual web page, you can see our main section is this blurb here to here. Not that part. That would be our footer down there. You could see our section. There's our main heading right here. We could see the different section that has our main content here. We have our banner here, and we have our navigation here. And if you click that, it doesn't do anything. But it is a link. You can see that it is a link by the fact that it lights up when you click on it there. This would just send you to the top of the page. Say if I were to... No, I would have to make it bigger here. See if I were to make it bigger like this, clicking on this, if I scroll down, would send me to the top. I will reference this more going forward. So, question 2. Let me just look at my time here. I need to go a bit faster. So, section 2, we're going to explain the purpose and usage of these ARIA tags, such as the section tag. So the section tag just denotes a section of content on your page. Say if you wanted like a side section, or you wanted to say you had a article and you wanted to separate paragraphs by section, just so someone could, using a screen reader, could just jump right to those sections. It would most likely be, the sections would be separated by like the stuff you would put on a table of contents, for instance. Our nav section is self-explanatory. It's nav would be short for navigation here. And the nav section is for all of your navigation links. Again, like a table of contents on an article, specifically something like a Wikipedia page. That would be navigation. Or if you just had like a sidebar on the side that brought you to different links. It's any section that lets you navigate the page through links or buttons and such. Role is a bit more interesting as an ARIA tag. Role lets you set the semantic description of a element for screen reader usage, such as if you were to have a button on a web page. This was like the textbook example. If you were to have a button on a web page, you could do role equals in quotations button, just to tell the person using the screen reader that that element is a button. And either they can skip it or they can hit it or anything else, but the role tag there is just to tell the user what that element is and what it's supposed to do. And then the ARIA tag main is to denote the meat of the content on a web page. Say, again, if you were to have a Wikipedia page or just any other wiki or possibly a news article. The main section would denote the actual meat of the article, like the information in the article, and that way you could possibly like skip past the banner on the website and skip past all the nav links, just so you can go read the article. Go read the title of the article and then everything else in the article. Maybe if they have a nice pictures, you can see those too. So let's go explain the CSS snippet in Figure 2. We're going to zoom into this a little bit just to make it easier to see. So this CSS is selecting, this is a compound selector first, so it's all of these elements split up with these commas here. So this is selecting all of these elements, which is HTML body, div span, uh, many elements. This isn't referencing any classes or IDs because nothing is starting with a period or a hash mark. So to all of these, it is setting the margin, padding, and border to 0. So just to quickly go over those attributes, those CSS attributes, padding is the distance between the content in an object box, which is just like the little box you use to space out stuff uh, on a web page. It just makes it that the box closely having padding at 0 makes it so the box will closely hug the content, so there isn't like a big space between the element and the content in the box. Like if you were to have a bigger, if padding was to be increased, then the element then the content in the element might be closer to like the middle of the element, but then there'd be big open space around it, like a box. We have a box model in the book that we use to describe it. Next one would be border. You could set border color and such, and the size of this border in CSS, but here this border is set to 0, so there isn't a border on any of this content either. And then margin is specifically the outsides of the element's little content box. Margin denotes how much space there's going to be between this content box and content boxes for other elements, which in this case is 0. All of these are 0. Font size is much easier. This one is just set to 100% of the size of these parent elements size. So whatever these elements are contained in, it will have 100% of that element's font size. Uh, and then it is also going to inherit with font :space inherit semicolon. All of these elements are also going to inherit the fonts that their parent elements have. And then vertical align baseline is this one I had to look up. It's a little hard to explain, but it just sets how the again with the with the box with the box example here. Excuse me. The baseline is just going to set all of these elements. All of the content in those elements is going to be aligned to everything else. Baseline makes it so that all content is vertically aligned to other content with the baseline alignment, which in this case is most likely going to be the top, because I don't see any other settings to align it, to align some of this content to, say, the bottom or the center of these content boxes. So I assume that all of them will be aligned to the very top of their content boxes. And now our final question is with our CSS element selectors. So let me just look at my time here. Okay, very quickly. Element selects all elements. This includes paragraphs, headers, and lists, such as these elements. ID lets you select elements with certain IDs. IDs are unique to every element, so lets you be very specific on what you want to select. And class lets you select everything inside of a class as defined in the HTML code of a website. For example, on my style.css, I have something that selects an element, here it is, element class, and then an ID, and it selects this, this, and this, and makes all of them black. It also selects this because that's a paragraph. Those are very useful for selecting very specific things, and lets you and makes it gives you a lot of control over what colors you set on different stuff. Hopefully these answers have been concise, and I hope you have. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible because of the time limit. I hope you have a nice day, Professor.